Hello viewers, I'm Dr. Bharti, CEO of PAS. In this video I'm going to discuss and explain benefits of voluntary GST HST registration for businesses in Canada. This is the disclaimer. This video is only for educational purposes. However, if you need any specific advice on tax accounting and business matters, you can always send us an email at pascat2017@gmail.com or else you can call us at 289-952-3494. I've divided this video into two strands or two parts. In the first part, I'm going to explain the legal threshold for GST HST registration, while in the second part, I'm going to discuss some of the benefits that may be associated with voluntary registration for GST HST. Now, the foremost question is, should you register for collecting GST HST in Canada? Well, the answer to this question depends upon certain legal parameters. What those parameters are? First is that whether you provide taxable supplies in Canada, whether you are a small business or not. So if the answer is that you provide taxable supplies and you are not a small business, that you are a large business, then under the law, you are required to get your business registered for collecting GST HST. Now, what taxable supplies are? Most property and services supplied in or imported into Canada is taxable supplies, or part of taxable supplies. If you're not sure about whether you're dealing with taxable supplies or not, you can always go to the CRA website to look for the detailed list of goods and services that are part of taxable supplies. Now, when it comes to a small supplier, who is a small supplier? So whether you're running your business as a sole trader or as a partnership business or even as an incorporated business, the threshold is that if your size of your annual taxable supplies, broadly speaking, is $30,000 or below, then you are not required to get your business registered for GST HST because you qualify to be a small business. Now, when it comes to a public service body, this threshold is raised to $50,000. There is another test. This is the test of gross revenue. So it means in case of charities or public institutions, if the annual gross revenue is $250,000 or less, they qualify to be small supplier and they're not required to get their entity registered for GST HST purposes. Now, I'm going to discuss and explain some of the benefits of voluntary GST HST registration. The first benefit is that if your business voluntarily get registered for GST HST purposes, it's going to improve the credibility of your business. This is logical. When your clients are dealing with you and know that your business is registered with CRA for collecting GST HST. So at least there is an assumption that your business has more legal credibility. And the second important benefit is the cash flow benefit. And this cash flow benefit may accrue to your business in the form of input tax credit. And this may really be of significance to those businesses that are a growing business and that may be spending more money on business expenses than their business revenues. And I'm going to demonstrate that through worked examples. If you look at these figures, we have taken into consideration two different situations, situation A and situation B. In each situation, we're going to compare two identical businesses. One is the registered business and other is the unregistered business. But they are identical in terms of their sales revenue, the size of their sales revenue and their business expenses. If you just look at sales revenue of registered business under situation A, you notice it is $20,000 and $20,000 for unregistered business. And similarly, when you look at business expenses for registered business, it is $30,000. But for unregistered business, this is $33,900. This additional $3,900 is due to the fact that business is unregistered, so it cannot claim input tax credit. So it has to treat payment of HST on its business expenses as business expense. The financial effect of this legal arrangement is that the loss incurred by a registered business in this situation A is only $10,000, whereas that business is likely to get a refund of $1,300 as input tax credit from CRA because The total HST that it has paid on its business expenses is $3,900, whereas it has collected only $2,600, so CRA is going to refund it the difference. When you look at the unregistered business, you notice that the size of its loss is $13,900. This additional $3,900 basically relates to the HST that it has paid on its business expenses, and these have to be treated as business expenses. Now look at situation B. In situation B, the same two businesses, we assume that their sales revenue is $30,000 while their business expenses are also $30,000. So it means they are just operating at a break-even point. So the loss or profit of registered business is nil or zero. When it comes to input tax credit, it is also zero. The reason being that the total HST collected by this business is $3,900 and the total HST paid by this business is also $3,900. So it means there is no refund or there is no payment on account of HST. When you look at unregistered business figure, you notice that its loss is $3,900, and this $3,900 is the amount that it has paid as HST on its business expenses. So this simple illustration has proved that if your business voluntarily get itself registered for GST HST collection, it is likely to have benefit of input tax credit that may strengthen its cash flows, at least in the short run. Now look at another situation. In this case, the two same businesses are facing an abnormal loss-making scenario. So in situation X, the sales revenue is assumed to be $20,000 for both businesses, while their business expenses are assumed to be $70,000. Now, when you look at the profit and loss figure, the loss of a registered business is $50,000. That is the difference between $70,000 of business expenses and $20,000 of sales revenue. Whereas it is likely to get an input tax credit of $6,500. That would be a cash inflow. This is a refund that it is going to get from CRA because the size of HST collection is lower while the size of HST payment is on the higher side. When you look at unregistered business, the size of its loss is $59,100. The reason being this additional loss of $9,100 is the amount of HST that this business has paid on its business expenses, but it cannot claim it because it is not registered for HST purposes. When you look at situation Y, we assume that the sales revenue for both businesses is $30,000, while business expenses are again $70,000, and the bottom line or the profit or loss for registered business is $40,000, while this business is likely to get cash inflow or tax credit or HST credit of $5,200. Whereas when it comes to unregistered business, the size of its loss is $49,100. So the size of its loss is higher by a margin of $9,100. It's the amount of HST that it has paid on its business expenses that it cannot claim from CRA. Now, what is the conclusion that we can draw from these two simple illustrations? The conclusion is that generally speaking, people would avoid getting their business registered for GST, HST unless they meet the legal threshold. But this illustration demonstrates that voluntary registration may be advantageous to many businesses, especially growing businesses who have to incur more business expenses than generating, for example, sales revenue. So in this case, some of the surplus HST that they have paid on their business expenses may be refunded to them. This is going to boost their cash inflows, at least in the short run. So it all depends upon your choice. If you are a growing business, so probably you may like to go for voluntary registration because it may be advantageous to you. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you need any specific advice, I'm going to reiterate that you may send us an email at pascat2017@gmail.com, or you may call us at 289-952-3494, or else you may go to our website at www.pascat.com. Thank you for watching.